Welcome to the Daily Vibecasting. All right, we're diving straight in today. Got a packed feed from X, 11 posts hitting hard across AI, mobility, finance, policy. Our mission, as always, rapid synthesis. We're cutting through the noise, pulling out the core insights for you fast.
Exactly. No lingering.
Yeah.
We've got the posts lined up. We'll hit the key patterns, the connections you need to see. Let's get the context quick.
Okay, let's kick off with AI because, wow, the ground is shifting. We thought bigger was always better, right? Well, maybe not. Check this out from @DressSingularity. This is insane. New AI model from Samsung, 10,000x smaller than DeepSeek and Gemini 2.5 Pro. Just beat them on ARC-AGI 1 and 2. Samsung's Tiny Recursive Model, TRM, is about 10,000x smaller than typical LLMs, yet smarter because it thinks recursively instead of just predicting. 10,000 times smaller. Let that sink in. We're talking a 7 million parameter model here.
Yeah, it's tiny compared to the billions or trillions we usually hear about.
And it's outperforming the giants on ARC-AGI. That's abstract reasoning, folks, not just spitting back facts, but actual, problem solving.
And the how is fascinating. It's from their ArcSoup paper back in October. It's this iterative process. It critiques itself, refines the answer.
How many times?
Up to 16 refinement cycles, using what they call a reasoning scratchpad. Doesn't just predict, it thinks, corrects, thinks again.
Okay, so it's like drafting and editing its own work multiple times. But 16 cycles, doesn't that take a lot more compute time, even if the model's small? Is there a latency trade-off?
That's a million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
But this is where that neurosymbolic approach shines. The steps are targeted, efficient for reasoning, not the brute force of a huge LLM. So you get smarter reasoning, potentially right on your device, not just in some massive data center. It really challenges the whole economic model of AI.
Speaking of the economics, OpenAI just gave us a look at their scale. They're calling it the trillion token economy. Adaditch shared the leaderboard highlights. OpenAI just published the leaderboard of the trillion token economy. Here it is. 1, Duolingo, Isaac Anderson. 2, OpenRaider, Alex Atala. 3, Indeed, Chris Cullen. 4, Salesforce, John Emmons. 5, CodeRabbit. Duolingo at number 1. That's pretty interesting. Shows how broad this adoption is, right? Education, HR tech, big enterprise software. Over 30 companies hitting that massive token count.
Right. And what this really signals is OpenAI's API dominance. Huge recurring revenue. These companies are embedding OpenAI deep into their operations. We're talking billions probably.
Which leads perfectly into the talent needed to build all this. At Lulem Survey had a pretty direct take on that. H-1B for every non-citizen on the OpenAI token leaderboard.
Yeah, bit provocative, but it highlights a real pressure point. You see this explosion in enterprise AI use. You see who's driving it on that leaderboard. The tech industry is basically shouting, we need these experts, and the current visa system is a bottleneck. It connects directly to that economic growth we just talked about.
Makes sense. And the skills needed are getting more specific. Andrew Wang, always ahead of the curve, announced a new course from @AndrewWang, announcing my new course, Agentic AI. Building AI agents is one of the most in-demand skills in the job market. This course teaches you how. You learn to implement 4 key agentic design patterns. Reflection. Okay, so he stops there in the quote, but the key things he's teaching are reflection, tool use, planning, and multi-agent collaboration. That feels like the essential toolkit now.
Exactly. But what's really key, I think, is Eng's focus beyond just the patterns. He stresses disciplined evaluation, error analysis. He literally says that rigorous testing and evaluation are the biggest predictors of success for AI agent teams. It's not just about getting an answer from the LLM anymore. It's about building reliable, continuously improving systems.
Reliability, scale, and money. Let's look at OpenAI's valuation. @Kobeisletter posted this map in a comment. This is wild, a map of OpenAI's recent partnerships. Now one of the largest companies in the world, worth over $500, still owned by a nonprofit parent. What's next? $500 billion. That's the number from that SoftBank-led sale. How does that even work with a nonprofit parent? And look at that map, partners everywhere.
It's incredibly complex. That map shows they rely on competitors, right? Google, Amazon for hosting, Microsoft, NVIDIA for the core tech. It drove massive revenue, $4.3 billion in the first half of 2025? But analysts are, raising flags. Does this spread risk IP leakage? Does it dilute their value proposition if everyone's a partner? It's not a clean vertical stack.
Okay, let's shift from software to hardware. Robotics. Big tease from Figure AI at Adcock. Brett kept it short and sweet. Figure 03 coming 109. Just that. Figure 03, their 3rd-gen humanoid. The video snippet shows a sleeker look, gray fabric, integrated sensors.
Yeah, the design looks slick, Palm cameras, sensors seem more integrated for interaction.
Yeah.
But the real kicker isn't just the look, it's the context. The CEO's talking $20,000 to $30,000 price point, aiming for commercial use by 2026.
20 to 30,000, that's actually potentially viable for businesses, right?
Exactly. That's the signal. It moves from just cool tech demos to something that could genuinely hit factory floors or warehouses in the next couple of years. That price point changes the game.
Okay, staying with machines that move. Autonomous driving. Tesla's got an update. Elon Musk tweeted simply, major improvement to FSD. And this is FSD Supervised version 14.1 rolling out. Sounds like refinement.
It is refinement, but focused on tricky, real-world stuff. Selectable arrival spots so you can tell it exactly where to stop, curbside, or even pull into the garage. Plus, better detour routing using vision, not just maps. And improved logic for pulling over for emergency vehicles. Oh, and the Sloth profile is back for those who like a more conservative ride.
Ha! The Sloth profile.
Hey.
People love that. Okay, sticking with Tesla, but talking affordability now. At Sawyer Merritt got an early look at new base models. I flew down to Giga, Texas last week to get an early look at Tesla's new Model 3 and Model Y Standard, their new, more affordable models. In this video, I give a full tour. He gives the full tour, we'll give the prices. Model 3 Standard at $36,990. Model Y Standard at $39,990. Cheaper, but they definitely cut some corners.
They did. It's cost engineering. Strip-back interior, smaller 60-kilowatt battery, though still gets a decent 321 miles range.
Yeah.
No autopilot included, no folding mirrors, things like that.
Seems like decent savings, 4 or 5 grand off. Why are reactions mixed?
Because it's only about a 14% cut from the previous base prices, on average. So for some people, it's not quite the affordability breakthrough they hoped for. They feel like they're losing too many features for that level of savings. It tells you two things, really. One, Tesla's feeling the pressure on margins. Two, they're testing how much people will pay for the brand versus features at that lower price point. It's an inventory and demand elasticity play.
Got it. Okay, complete gear shift. Markets. And a prediction that just seems unreal. From @BTSarchive. In December 2023, an anonymous user predicted Bitcoin would hit an all-time high cycle peak on October 6, 2025. Yesterday, Bitcoin hit an all-time high on October 6, 2025. If the pattern holds, the bear market low will happen on October 6, 2026. Okay, wait. Bitcoin peaked yesterday at $125,700, and someone predicted that exact date back in December 2023. How?
It sounds spooky, but it wasn't magic. It was pattern analysis. This person apparently tracked the number of days in previous bull markets starting from the halvings. It came out to 1,064 days for past cycles.
And that landed exactly on October 6, 2025.
Apparently so. It's genuinely impressive accuracy for the peak date. But we need to be cautious about that next prediction, the bear market low in 2026.
Why? If the pattern held for the peak.
Because history isn't perfectly uniform. Past cycles haven't always been exactly 164 days. Some were shorter, like 853 days, some a bit different. Relying purely on that count for the next major turn is speculative. Market conditions change. It's an amazing data point, maybe a coincidence, but not a guaranteed forecast.
Right. Okay. History rhymes, doesn't repeat exactly. Fair enough. Now let's talk research power. @Shamath dropped this comparison. Google, a private for-profit software company, has had 5 Nobel laureates work for them. Most universities have had none. 5 Nobel Prizes, that's huge. We're talking Hassabis and Jumper for AlphaFold in Chemistry 2024, and Devereux, Martinez, Clark for Quantum Computing and Physics 2025, all at Google.
It's an incredible concentration of talent. And the why is pretty clear. Resources. Google spends something like $50 billion a year on R&D. They can hire these absolute top-tier scientists, give them massive computational power, and free them from the constant grind of writing academic grants.
So does that mean corporate labs are just better now? Is this concentrating too much power away from open academic research?
That's the core debate, isn't it? On one hand, projects like AlphaFold probably wouldn't happen or happen as fast. In a typical university setting, Google provides the scale. But on the other hand, yeah, you worry about fundamental discovery moving behind corporate walls, driven by profit motives rather than open inquiry. It's a real tension in the science world right now.
Okay, last one. A quick look at politics and media access. @TheChiefNerd highlighted this quote from CNN's Caitlin Collins about Trump. Caitlin Collins. Trump is such an accessible president. Anytime the camera's around and reporters are around, it can turn into a press conference. President Obama almost never responded to shouted questions. Trump upended that when he came into the White House. So Collins is pointing out a very different style of press interaction compared to predecessors. Much more spontaneous, accessible, maybe less controlled.
Yeah, and we're just reporting on her observation here, keeping it impartial. Collins notes this shift where almost any interaction could become a Q&A. It speaks to that unique dynamic, constant engagement, turning routine moments into press gaggles, which was very different from previous norms. It existed alongside, often very critical coverage, highlighting that complex media relationship.
And that wraps our sprint through the feed. 11 posts covered. We saw tiny AI making huge waves, robots getting priced for reality, and that absolutely wild Bitcoin prediction hitting the mark.
So here's something to chew on as you go about your day. We talked about Samsung's Tiny TRM fundamentally shifting AI possibilities and Figure AI pricing robots low enough for real deployment. Which of those two, the change in AI structure or the coming wave of affordable robotics, do you think will cause more disruption in the next 12 months?
A tough question. Lots happening fast. Thanks for tuning in and keeping up with us today.
We appreciate your time. Catch you on the next Vibecast.